All right, traders, welcome back to another Relentless recap. As you're tuning in, be sure to hit that thumbs up. And if you're a new viewer, consider subscribing to the channel. So today we're going to talk about how things transpired. We did go from green to red. Pre-market a little slow, but ended green there. Coming into the open, took it easy, but ultimately did not see anything. Today was one of those days where it felt like you're waiting for the hot stock, and then the hot stock never really comes, you know? So let's walk through it. Let's take a look here. I'll come up to the screen up top. Actually, no, let's come right here. So yeah, we had MOGO, ELWS, and then DAIC and SONN as our top four stocks, I'd say. Some of the other ones did come along. Maybe there might have been some opportunity, but LIXT, but they weren't really, the staple of the day, I would say. LIXT, this one, let's see. So we came, I believe, after a halt up, which might have been around 2. Um, we did end up going from 2 to 240. I am curious to see the 10-second chart. I want to believe we might have went green to red on this one. 212, it's 217. We got some really small trades. And then there was a resumption over 242. And, it kind of didn't really hold up from there. I can't remember correctly how this one moved and when we saw it. I think we caught one trade and then we weren't able to get back in. So break over 2, we got up to 222, and I believe a bid came in. A bid came in over 20 at the highs, and then the stock kind of just pushed up. I think a 33,000 share buy or something like that. So if you didn't hold your position long enough, or if you didn't buy back, maybe just taking it over the highs again, you could have potentially missed the extension. But after resumption, kind of backside in this drop off right here. Up until later, it came back up to those levels again, but wasn't able to pull through. So we tried a consolidation, looking for new highs. Didn't really continue off this level here around 215. So LIXT, again, I'd say it was something, but not quite one of the main 4. So if we're to come back to the log here and look at where the day started, I think it was with ELWS and MOGO. As usual, these stocks did hit the scans, and that's how we were able to find them earlier in the morning. So let's come over to ELWS. ELWS, not too bad. We traded this one around 7.15. You can see it wasn't the smoothest of moves. I think we made $85 with the small size, and then, gave back a couple bucks off the top. But just a couple trades. Didn't really see a ton. In terms of explosiveness and consecutive green candles. Now our next stock, we're gonna actually have consecutive green candles, but no real explosion. And that's going to be MOGO. And this was our best stock. We did make money on it, but it's just not quite the move we would need to be up thousands in pre-market, right? In terms of the pace of the stock and the volatility that we had. This was more of a slow grind, slow and steady, slow and steady, slow and steady, slow and steady. And perhaps even a little bit better for the longer hold time. But with the quick scalps, we still got something in the one area where it did take off a little bit, which I believe it might have been right here. It was either right here or right here. Like we had a candle where it just teleported up, and I started looking for those entries. It ended up turning over, and that was like the high of the move. But MOGO, not bad, going from 120s up to 4. And then that was pretty much it, though. Into the open, we had a small red to green over 438, or 338 rather. This was a decent area here, but only lasted 2 candlesticks. Lows of 315, high of 370, and then sold off. So we were green for most of the day, and then into the open, we had Um, what was this one? DAIC. DAIC, a stock around the $10 range. We've been having a lot of trouble with stocks over 10 recently. We could not connect on this one. It ended up breaking over 1040 here, pushing up, giving a 3-bar play, and then over VWAP, we got the 1245 before the pullback and then a retest. Could not get a winning trade on this one, and so you know what? We did the right thing, which was to keep it small, keep it tight, and not size up, not get too aggressive, but instead walk away. So you can see the share size remained small, 100 shares, 50 shares, 200 shares to most. Didn't overdo it. And notice the time difference here. Around 10, let's see, is this correct? Let's come up some more. I think we shut down the live stream around 10:30. Let's just double check here. LIXT was 11:30. It might have been 11:30. We shut down the live stream. In which case we were green about 250 at the time. You know, highs of about 400. We did have the small loss on DAIC and I think a little on LIXT, right? Now SONN, let's talk about this. This is like the after the stream trade here. This is what got me and put me into the red. So my scanners are still turned on, of course. I'm like doing some other stuff and you know, I see this nice move and we're halted up and I'm like, yes, finally, the day is really about to start. Because again, you know, it felt like one of those days where you're waiting for a stock to be strong and you know, have that explosion with the volatility and it never really coming. MOGO was the closest one to it, more of a slow grind, slow pace move. And so when this got halted up, I'm like, yes, here we go. And something I got to be careful of, man, if the dip and rip is not absolute in the first trade, perhaps waiting and backing off is the move because I got long. Let's see, we halted up at 285, resumed at 302, and I believe it didn't really dip right away. It didn't really dip. You know, some resumptions will open up sideways, get the pause, and then make the new high. We attempted the breakout. We're in at 303, 304, and I believe, I mean, I really can't remember if it went up first or down. Let's pull up the 10-second chart here to see. Let's just pull it up. My screen recording was off at the time. Well, let's just pull it back to see if we had a... So that would have been right over here. So, well, it's still hard to say here. We had a low of 290, high of 312. I think it opened up, got up to 312, and then dipped, I want to say. And then from there, we had a small retest. And the dip down below 90 was below 3 was pretty tough because we're coming down, and almost instantly, like, you know, like humanly impossible to get in. It's back up. And so that was a tough trade right there to capture. You know, we got blazed pretty bad here. The second time it dipped down below the level. So I believe that's going to be this candle here. It dips down. We buy around 93 and we get filled at 97. This is the trade that really frustrated me here. Okay, this one, a little bit of chop. But trying to buy the low 90s dip, got filled high, and the stock completely just evaporates down. And, you know, looking to be in 94, 93, tight stop, 89, 90. I see 83, I'm trying to cut it. We get filled at 80. And this bigger loss here in terms of the cents, right? The size, I think, relatively small still. You know, this is a $2, $3 stock. However, despite looking strong and looking pretty good into the move up, it was just still, you know, a sell-off here. So if you missed this breakout, you know, largely a downtrend, especially if you get chopped trying to get the dip. And this is what we don't want to trade here. So after this loss on this candlestick, we shut it down. And this did sadly put us into the red. So that was about a $300+ loss, along with the other loss in at 05, high fill out at 97. So 7 cents plus another 17 cents will do it too. So right here, I'm like, you know what, man? We came back in a strong area where traditionally we would do well, and the stock is choppy. So I shut it down there, and I never looked back, and it looks like it did give a nice move. And this is more of the move we would have wanted to see right here, right? So like the right idea, but the timing is just not there in this moment, right? To get this big, insane uptrend, it comes later in the day. So anybody who was able to just withstand any sort of like scratch trades or losses and able to just stick around, it looks like the stock ultimately would have rewarded you. So this happened around 253. Yeah, I was long gone by then. Lows 24. So I wonder though how the price action was, right? Did we just get a slow grindy move, or did we get a nice, beautiful volatile uptrend? 70 to 3, so 30-cent candlestick there. This one looks pretty good. 06 to 48. Pulled back to 15, highs of 54. And then more of like an elongated, more of a consolidation here, let's see. And then over 360, it got up to 390 and then 44. This looks like it was pretty good. I mean, it's hard to say price action wise, but this looks like it was a pretty good push. And this is the type of continuation we would have loved to see out of the resumption and move here earlier. But, instead we had this quick and abrupt pullback. And that was the day. I think at best we were green 400 in pre-market, and then into the open we had a loss. We're green around 250, and then we gift back on this stock right here, going from small green to red, and then getting caught on the resumption trade. So a bit of a slower day, all things considered, but it would have been nice to see this opportunity here. Tomorrow, hopefully we see a nice pre-market. I'll be ready if something is hot and we're seeing those dip opportunities. I will be there and I'll be ready to lock in. Now, in terms of areas of opportunity to improve, I think we did do a good job managing share size throughout the day. I think the accuracy was the biggest thing here, especially even with this trade. Just losing the amount of cents that we did in what was a tighter range at the time. Getting caught in some brutal areas, right? So it's interesting how the stocks are pulling back in some trades because there's no time to be in. We're just kind of just up, and the dips are a little wacky these days, right? So looking forward to tomorrow. It'll be a half day though, so it'll be I think 12 p.m. close, and then Friday is the 4th of July. So there's probably going to be a lot of traveling. But yeah, just mark that down on your calendars. That way you don't forget the 4th of July. But yeah, quick recap here to go over the day. Remember, what the live stream does end around 10:30, 11:30, 12 p.m. You can always join the chat room if you want to continue the conversation. That's where, we'll keep going all the way till 4 p.m., right? And beyond, right? Even right now, the Mighty just had posted a video here going over his day, right? So there's still some educational content, but yeah, take care, stay safe, stay green, hit the thumbs up, and I'll catch you guys tomorrow for 7 a.m. pre-market.